Welcome to another installment of Communicast, talking about the great things good people are doing in our communities. And with me now is John Clayton, who I'm very excited to have a chance to talk to. Specifically, we're talking about the Chandler House, but he's also the executive director of Manchester Historical Association and has a long history of knowledge of Manchester. And I've read many of the books growing up that you've written about what happens in our fine community. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate having you here. What I really wanted to get into quickly with you was this is such a sense of urgency right now. And this morning there were a whole lot of people out on the street, either side of Beach Street, very quiet, silent witness more or less to what's happening and trying to put a message out that this is a building we shouldn't lose. Why is that, John?
Well, at the Manchester Historic Association, our mission is to collect, preserve, and share Manchester history. And we argue that this particular building is an important part of the history of our community. The gathering today was very encouraging. We had more than 100 people, everyone wearing masks, very much an orderly protest or rally to try to convince the diocese of the wisdom of selling this property to the Courier Museum of Art, which has made a $2 million offer on the property. They see it as a part of their contiguous campus. They would view the building as space for gallery exhibits, meetings, conferences, and we just think it's an example of what we call adaptive reuse, taking a building that's outlived its original purpose and finding a new way to preserve it and keep it in good state.
What was very heartening to me was to see that, knowing that this has been a 5-year campaign to preserve it, and yet in such a short period of time after somebody puts a slip of paper that says 147 Walnut Street demolition, social media brought people out, and very quickly, and here we are in the time of a pandemic and stay at home or be very cautious about social distancing. And how does that make you feel? What have you seen with the impact of social media here?
Oh, it's so gratifying because we created a Facebook page, Save the Chandler House, 5 years ago, and we have about 250 followers until very recently. Some young activists, Katie Ferrara and Cody Carlson, took up the mantle and started really using social media as a way to drive the attendance for today's event, for example, but also to get petition drives going with email addresses and mailing addresses for the bishop and his staff. And they're the ones who were the genius behind the rally today. And we're looking forward to another one on July 1, location to be determined.
And you know, what's really interesting, this is the generation we're preserving these buildings for. When you take a look at where we are in our history, we've lost a few important ones along the way that you can't ever go back. And we're right now at this crossroads, and this is the rising generation that's going to say, what did you do to help us for the future?
Mm-hmm. One of the great signs today depicted some of the elements of Manchester's history that have been lost to demolition, including renowned artifacts like the Notre Dame Bridge, B&M Railroad Station, the Lake Avenue Firehouse. These are gone forever, and yet people still get passionate when you talk about those things. And in my position at the museum, I'm often asked, my opinion of those things. We're doing everything we can now to prevent this from happening yet another time.
No, I think those are great comments and awareness, John. So what can people do right now? What's the one thing that would make a difference, do you think, in the next couple of days?
It's all in the hands of the bishop. So I would suggest that people write to Bishop Labashi at the diocese, which is 153 Ash Street in Manchester, 03104. I'll even give you the zip code because we think he can be made to understand the importance of this building. Alan Chong, the director of the Courier, was quoted in the paper as saying that conversations with the bishop are always cordial and positive, and he's convinced that, quote unquote, underlings of the bishop are undermining whatever progress we make toward preserving the building.
Thank you so much for spending time with me, and continued success, and we'll see you out on the street corner soon.
Thank you, Keith.
Take care.